Summer has been shortened somehow. I don't know how they do it. They do it every year because the high school football season is right around the corner. The first Friday night of football is set for this week. And as always on Mondays, joining us is Tom Davis of the News Sentinel, the sports editor, to talk high school football. And Tom, first show of the year, so we're going to be talking about conference previews and also week one matchups. But we're going to start with those conferences. And when you talk about the SAC, it seems to be a little more wide open this year than perhaps it has been in years past, don't you think?
Well, I think it's there's a lot more parity in the league than there has been in years past. It used to be the haves and the have-nots, but I think that margin between the top and bottom really has shrunk. And I think there's going to be some new teams that really take a step up. Much like Northside took a step up last year, I think Southside will take a step up this year. And I think Bishop Dwenger, after their first losing season, and I want to say since 2001, 2002.
It's been 13 years, something like that.
13 years. They are going to bounce back this year. So we're going to see some new teams at the top of the SAC this year as compared to last year. But yes, the answer to your question is much more parity top to bottom in that league.
We'll start with Snyder because that's a team that made the 5A championship game last year. Their only loss in the title game down in Indianapolis, but they've got a lot of holes to replace.
Well, they lost 37 seniors, which for a lot of schools, that's an entire roster. But Snyder, if there's any program in the state of Indiana that can withstand 37 seniors graduating, it's Snyder. And they were my pick last year to win the SAC, and they made me look really good. So that's the first time in 5 years I was right. But a lot of holes. They do have a couple of defensive stars back in Raju Blackman and Donovan Day. But everywhere else, it's a clean slate, and people are competing for playing time, which Kurt Tippmann talked with us earlier and said he really enjoys watching the competition and the young players develop. But yeah, question marks all over the place. Having said that, they got a tough test against Bishop Luers in week one, but I think they'll be able to overcome Luers.
And Snyder, one thing that they always have constantly, it seems like they rotate big linemen in there, and they know what to do with them, always have a good defense. I saw them scrimmage against Homestead this past week, and still looking for a quarterback. We'll see how that plays out against Luers. But then let's move on to Luers because they won a state championship last year, fourth in a row. But obviously big changes. They're bumping up to 3A, and now Kyle Lindsay taking over the program.
Changes all over the place. They lost 25 seniors, and including 19 starters. And one of them was a guy named Jalen Smith, who ended up being pretty good.
He's all right.
He's going to start as a true freshman in Notre Dame this year. And so Luers, they look like they struggled a little bit compared to Bishop Dwenger in their scrimmage on Friday. Having said that, Kyle Lindsay is an experienced coach. He's not an experienced head coach, but he is an experienced coach in running that night offense and working with those kids. And they do have quarterbacks, plural quarterbacks, in Quinn Cook and Noah Wazinski. And they still have A. Smith. A guy named Solomon Smith, a junior, who really caught my eye the other night at the scrimmage. Big kid, 6'3", is a great wide receiver, and he's progressing at the defensive end spot. He can make plays for the Knights. So the Knights are going to drop back from their typical place of being an area powerhouse. However, they're not going to drop way back. They're still going to be competitive in the SAC.
And I think Austin Mack is one of those poised players, receiver, who we hadn't heard much about because Michael Rogers was their number one go-to guy, and they could run the ball so well. But I think he's going to step into the Friday night highlights quite a bit this season. On the flip side, as you mentioned, you were out at Bishop Darcy Stadium. Dwenger, what did you see from them? It's good to go in with a healthy set of quarterbacks. I think Chris Schwarzkopf would agree.
That's the key word, health. If they can stay healthy, if Mike Fiacable can stay healthy, Bishop Dwenger, I think, will win the SAC. They're my pick to win the SAC this year. They have a developing offensive line, needs to get better, a little bit more mature, but Chris Schwarzkopf has tweaked his offense to take advantage of the weapons that he has, and he has huge pass catchers. Ryan Watercutter on one side, Keenan, and I'll mess this up, Centliver on the other side, 6'6" on one side, 6'3" on the other. Great pass catcher and Watercutter. Centliver made a big catch right off the get-go against Luers. And Fiacable really ran the ball well the other night, which coming off a knee injury, you would think maybe he couldn't do that so well. He looked like he hadn't missed a beat. Looked really good. He can still throw the ball. They've got running back by committee. They've got a solid defense returning. Bishop Dwenger is going to be tough to deal with.
And north and south, both of them are on the upswing, it looks like. As far as North goes, they won 9 games last year. They've got to replace C.J. Jackson at quarterback, Anthony Lanier. They got a lot of good transfers in, including a guy who could be the area's player of the year in DeMarcus Moon. But Southside also has 2 D1 guys on the defense, which is nothing to scoff at in Donovan Clark and Nathan Brayster. So really a lot of talent. Those teams are not going to be pushovers by any means.
Absolutely. Here's the keys for both of those teams. Northside needs to have an offensive line, defensive line developed. They graduated a lot of guys. They're not real big up front. Now, they do have athletic ability with DeMarcus Moon, who's going to play linebacker a lot of the time.
He says he wants to play linebacker in college, so this is his opportunity.
Which is new because he was a running back at Dwenger, and Dwenger had so much depth at linebacker they didn't need him. But their offensive line is a key for Northside success. The depth is the key for Southside success. Do they have enough athletes and size and strength to really hang with the top teams in the SAC? We're going to find out Friday night because they open against Bishop Dwenger. So that's going to be a tough game for them. Yeah,
their first 3 games are always Dwenger, Snyder, and Lures, and so they get the gauntlet right out of the bat, right out of the chute there. Northrop, Concordia, and Wayne. I think they all have things going for them. Concordia has the preseason first-team All-State quarterback in David Morrison, who's going to play at Ball State. Northrop, I think they were poised to make a big move, but the quarterback injury hurt with Colin Brockhouse. And Wayne, they're finally getting some juniors and seniors on the roster as Coach Brown builds the team.
Oh, they played a lot of freshmen and sophomores the last couple of years and really took their lumps. This is going to be a year stepping up for Wayne. They're going to be better than they have been in years past. And you're right, with Concordia, they have the area's, well, some would say the best quarterback in the area, but other teams might argue that. But David Morrison's really, really good, so they have that going for him. And then Northrop, they did lose Colin Brockhouse, who he could make an argument he was the best quarterback in the area. But I'll tell you what Northrop does have. They have a lot of team speed, more team speed than they've had under Tim Martone, and their numbers are up, so their depth is pretty good. So yes, you want to say they're going to step back, but not too far back. Northrop's going to be competitive in the SAC.
Bottom line, who do you think wins the SAC
Bishop
this
Dwenger
year?
wins it. I think that they will hold off Snyder, Northside, Southside, that whole mix with Lures. I think Northside will give them the best run for their money, but Bishop Dwenger will win the SAC.
All right, there you heard it. Tom Davis picking Bishop Dwenger, coming off a 6-7 season. Although if you took a look at the teams that they played, it was quite a gauntlet last year.
Oh, the 7 losses are. Yeah, the 7 losses they had, the teams combined for like 17 losses. I mean, it was unbelievable how good those teams were.